Just wanted to take a minute to greet you personally and express my gratitude for you being here. I hope you brought your partner, but if not, perhaps next time. These will be your general monthly readings for the month of August 2020. Without further ado, let's get into the chamber and together look at the magic and wisdom of the tarot cards. Hello, fire signs. This is for August 2020. And let's get right into your reading. Month of August. In the Northern Hemisphere, a hot time. Lots of sunlight available. Let's start with the oracle cards. So we're going to have 3 lines here. The divine feminine will go here. The divine masculine will go here. And the blended interwoven energies will go down here. So let's take a look at the oracle cards for the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So what we have here are 2 major arcana cards. The Hermit and Justice. So what immediately sticks out here is that you're both very close in where you're at. Or, if you're already in a relationship, then you're very close in your progression through your evolution. And if you are not in a relationship, then perhaps the idea is to look for someone who, through conversations and interaction and experiencing some things together, you can determine a person that is closer to you in their evolution and perhaps stand a better chance of continuing where you already live on your particular point on the path. So let's just put it that way. Let's just leave it at that. The divine feminine is here in the position of the Hermit. And for August, there may be a need to go inside to visit that inner wisdom that you have and take what is offered and apply it to your life. It's going to take, however, that kind of contemplation mode for you to understand how that's going to work with you. The listening, the getting quiet in your spirit. What happens then? The light from the Hermit's lantern can be perceived, and you can follow that path of light towards the future. And so, in this case, justice pretty much speaks for itself. And it's interesting that the divine feminine has got a masculine type of card, and the divine masculine has a feminine type of card. So that's a nice balance where you can go to one another, or you can lean on one another, if you will, or rely on one another to be there for you in a way that you need, or that you can benefit by, or that you can experience that interchange on a higher level of the give and the take in the divine sense. The sharing of love, the sharing of nurturing. And certainly, justice has the nurturing covered. Balance, truth. So if you're seeking, i.e. the next step on your path, what's in between the 9 and the 11 in the major arcana? The Wheel of Fortune. So if you're seeking and you're having to bridge this, or you're wanting to bridge this individual, the divine feminine, can understand what that turn of the wheel might mean, the 10. Whereas the divine masculine might be able to revisit again his own turning of the wheel. And, you being so close in your alignment to a similar point on the path can mean that what is available to you in terms of growth and experience and knowledge and a bonding, if you will, is in its prime. It's something that can really go forward, really move into a new concept, a new evolution, both as individuals and as a unit. And if you're in the relationship, that's going to be perhaps one way to see it. If you're looking for a relationship, then that's something to look for, meaning connecting with your own place in the spectrum of evolution means that when you go out and you encounter someone else and you interact with them, you know pretty much where they fit because you know where you fit, and the blending, the weaving of your souls, if you will, becomes much more available, much more readily available. Let's go for the Divine Feminine line. I've already shuffled these cards. And we are now ready. Schrodinger's cat, which is the Wheel of Fortune in this deck. Phase transition. You're getting a lot of major arcana. This must be a big month for fire signs. Death card. 8 of Cups. So, Divine Feminine, let's look into your world a little bit here. Okay. The Wheel of Fortune. Well, simply because, like we were just talking about, that's the card in between here. It looks like the Divine Feminine may get the cue of what that means, and that it's time. It looks like it's time to step in to a scenario where you kind of are turning the wheel on purpose. You get it? So that you are actually walking ahead because it's time. Walking ahead because you're interested in growing. And actually calling it into good focus, whatever the move forward is. And in this, it seems to be an emotional move. Then taking that step is appropriate. Will you make mistakes? Can you fail? Sure. But how else are you going to grow, actually? So walking in, whatever's in your life that's looking like it wants to go higher, that's where the focus wants to be, for you to move into that higher realm in that aspect of your life. Schrodinger's cat is worth reading about. In the Science Tarot deck, they use scientific stories or history to combine the spirit of the cards. So the Wheel of Fortune, Schrodinger's cat, where in the story of that, which really happened, Schrodinger was proving that a cat put in a box with something that can kill it, and closing the box, and it will create a situation where the cat, from one way of looking at it, is both alive and dead at the same time. And I'll leave the rest of that to you to figure out how that happened. Take a look into the Google. And then you have the Death card. So you guys are hovering around this portion of the major arcana big time. So something is, if either individually or for both of you, something's evolving. And of course, when you get into death, the Death card, that's almost always relating to the fact that there's something that you got to leave behind, but it's for your benefit. And so maybe instead of trying to hold on or having a reluctance about letting it be pulled out of your hands, the idea is to let it be pulled out and open your arms and let it go. And then what's on the other side? Well, this is kind of a beautiful image, isn't it? A cocoon for the Eight of Cups, which means that your butterfly, if that's a singular or a collective butterfly, you and your relation, your people, your whatever you care for, is just on the verge of a loving immersion from the cocoon into the world. Divine Masculine. Five of Wands. King of Swords. Queen of Pentacles. So, interesting. Perhaps in this Divine Masculine line, his spirit seems to want to reflect the King of Air, the no-nonsense king who can live overly in his head, but also the light side of his being is that he rules with truth and with vigor and with understanding. He's a wise character in ways of the world as they apply to one's thinking. And perhaps his love interest is the Queen of Pentacles. They are looking at each other. And if that's been the case for you, then in this case, if you're not working as a team, if you're working as an individual, then the Divine Masculine aspect in this is somebody who's going to go through the Five of Wands change, going to get to that point where he knows movement forward is only available by walking through a change. So facing it head on with clarity and eyes wide open, it gets you here faster than having a reluctance, being like pulling teeth to go here, to go through that change that's there anyway. One way or another, the change is afoot. And so if it's in the mix right now, if it's already unfolding, then time to let it go, time to accept the challenge of change head on. And the Divine Masculine typically knows how to do that, at least in U.S. society. There's a lot of training out there where some of it needs to be perhaps more balanced between the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine. But for right now, there's a lot of available information about applying the Divine Masculine aspect to ways that you get through challenges. And what a better way to do it than for the benefit of your soul and perhaps your partners also. And if the Divine Feminine is working with this Divine Masculine character in this reading, then if he's not bringing out his kingly aspect, then that doesn't mean he doesn't have it within him. And likewise, he's got to take note that she's a queen to be with his king. And of course, the way to balance all that out is the Justice card. The truth, the understanding. And just as carrying a sword in traditional decks can be very synchronistic with this king with a sword also. But she's got the scales too. And now for the weaving of the energy line, the combined energies of these two lines. Let's take a look. Your situation is in fact justice. Don't you love it? It's nice when the writing is on the wall, no matter what it takes. You get to know what you know. You get to know what the playing field looks like. You get to know what is in store. So if we're talking about the weaving of these two lines, both lines want to pay attention to this aspect being carried by the masculine, the divine masculine component. And if in the relationship, the divine masculine is more the woman than the man, or more the feminine than the masculine, being carried by her, then so be it. Perhaps the roles are reversed. That happens and it's fine. The balance of all that. But if you're doing that, you're already balanced to an extent anyway. So the balance that's gained from justice here, and since the situation is bespeaking justice anyway, then it's time. The August can be a very productive time period to take care of that kind of business. Your challenge, the challenge to the operation. This doesn't mean that the challenge is an obstacle necessarily. But if it's difficult, if you haven't had the kind of relationship, either haven't had one yet or are in one that is not accustomed to being transparent, open, honest, then here's your training ground, the Temperance card. And what I like about the definition I looked up one day in the dictionary of temperance with tempered steel, the people who temper steel, what that refers to is making the steel less brittle, right? When it's too brittle, it breaks. When it's less brittle, it flexes. And maybe it's a good idea to bring this angelic influence into your world and let things become less brittle, a pathway forward. And that's all this is. It's almost like the angel is just beaming out like a lighthouse, beaming out the idea of where to go next. Where to go is head for here and head for here. Head for the justice idea and be less brittle, be more flexible. Your asset, what you carry in that's got your back, is you got a lot of choices, and you've got the Seven of Cups idea, which is one that is filled with confidence that when you look at your options in love or in your relationship, in your relating to, maybe even relating to the people in your office or people in the world, you are strong when you want to make choices. It's not just having the choices and twiddling your thumbs. It's having the choices with some kind of empowerment. And since this is your asset, it's saying that if we're working on a woven energy mode here with the divine feminine and divine masculine, that the asset here does nothing but support efforts as long as you stay in the love mode about it, as long as you stay walking in the light. I mean, if you look at this, the only darkness being expressed by any of these cards is death, and that's got nothing to do with darkness except it's former darkness. It's darkness that you've had as your baggage up until now, and it's a matter of going, boom, letting it go, allowing the universe to clean your bones down to your skeleton and walking clean so that you can build new things as you emerge. It's like when a cocoon happens. It's the death of the caterpillar. It's the birth of the butterfly or the moth. Finally, potential outcome. And here's the Queen of Pentacles again. So the Queen of Pentacles is like the minor arcana version of the Empress. So, wow. She's so beautiful and so nurturing in the way she embodies and embraces and carries nurturing and creation and affection and life and growth. All the things that people walk around every day in this world saying, I wish I had more than that, of that. I wish I had more of that. And here she is. Not only here, this is the blended energy. So if you're getting anything out of this, it's coming. And guys, I mean, if this is you in this divine masculine, you're carrying a significant level of what needs to be done here. You're carrying perhaps this spirit here as a potential outcome. And only you two are going to find out what you want. And then the question is, you find out what you want and you then pose the question, is that where you want to go? Do you want to go to the queen level? Do you want to become that fount of nurturing and growth? So with this asset here leading to here, an expression of this energy on the planet Earth, fine. Looks like you got it going for you. And I encourage you to get in touch with me personally if you want more specifics on your particular circumstance. This is, of course, a general reading. So cards want to connect. They want to interweave themselves anyway, especially when you're throwing out the divine feminine, divine masculine. That's a balance that just wants to take place. And with that, I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to wish you the best of Augusts. And thank you for being here. See you next time.